Now, from the University of Okoboji, it's Okoboji Broadcast with Jeff Thee.
Welcome to Okoboji Broadcast, everybody. I'm Jeff Thee, coming to you from the Dickinson County Museum because it's History Wednesday, and I'd like to have my friend Mary Dreier, the director, here with us again today. Happy Wednesday.
And it is a happy day here, Jeff.
We've kind of got moose fever around these parts.
We do. It is so incredible. There is a moose in Spirit Lake.
Moose on the loose, as they say, yes.
A loosey-moosey.
A loosey-moosey.
And so I have to admit to you that instead of preparing for this little deal that we always do,
yeah.
Not that I would
I was going to say, when did we begin that practice of preparing?
Yeah, really. Way back when Wednesday Group had to hop in my car and try to find the moose. I just had to do it. It was just compelling.
Well, one of your very staunchest volunteers got pictures we've seen on Facebook.
Gail? Well, that was from last week's moose.
Oh, there's a new moose.
You didn't know this, Jeff?
This is breaking news, moose news to me. I was talking about the old moose.
No, I'm talking about the new moose.
Oh my goodness.
Today's moose.
Man, there's a lot of moose things going on around here.
There is, and there have even been announcements from Dickinson County Emergency Management about the moose and where it is and things. So if you're on Facebook, you can track this moose.
My goodness, I had no idea.
There were folks that saw it north of the fairgrounds.
Okay.
Near where Pat Anderson, one of our staff members, lives. But she missed it by 20 minutes, unfortunately. And then it was seen, I think it was over on Gary Avenue.
Really? I need to
with
get
a
out
picture in the town of Spirit Lake. And then it was heading south towards Francis Sites. This has all been a few hours ago, so this is old moose news now.
Well, you're catching me unawares, so
yeah,
that's cool. I thought we were talking about that we saw this moose. Gail had gotten a picture.
No, Jeff.
And do we know this is a different moose?
We don't know for sure.
Okay.
We were unable to ascertain that at this time. I'm sure the information will be released when it's available.
Well, I'll see if I can't nab an interview with the moose and are you the original
I wish we could have brought him in.
Well, you'd be in charge of cleanup afterwards.
Well, I am anyway. But yeah, this is a very exciting day. I have to say that the traffic, the slow-moving rubbernecking traffic was quite high going north from the fairgrounds. I can only imagine. Yeah.
We don't get a lot of mooses.
Meese?
I have no idea what the plural is, but around these parts. That's why it's big news. You get to Alaska or North Canada, sure, it's moose all the time.
Right, but not in downtown Spirit Lake.
Christmas shopping.
Maybe that's it.
What do the little mooses want for Christmas?
Oh, gosh, Jeff. We have way too much fun with this.
I know, and I think of all the famous mooses that I've ever watched on TV. And Captain Kangaroo had Mr. Moose. Rocky the Squirrel and Bullwinkle the Moose.
Yes.
Want to see me pull a rabbit out of my hat? Presto! That's my Bullwinkle impersonation. That's just being silly. But anyway, we got moose fever, so why not be a little silly?
Well, I think silliness is called for.
Yeah, I think so.
And fun and adventure and a certain desire to find the moose.
Yes.
Just to see the moose.
I wonder, when I was at KUOO first there, this would have been 91, 92, there was moose spottings around the area because Paul Koch, our news director, would give moose sightings. And
for real?
For real, yeah. And it seems to me it was closer over by Ocheeden and kind of west of here, but my memory may be a little foggy, but there was reports of moose around the area.
Yeah. Well, just so that we can kind of get the historical aspect of this, I have pulled out my favorite and most precise historical book of the area, R.A. Smith's History of Dickinson County, which really is a primary source. It was published in 1902, And R.A. Smith was one of the rescuers who came up from Fort Dodge right after the massacre.
Right.
So he actually experienced what he's talking about. And he has a chapter in here about early critters that were around here. And I thought it was very apropos to talk about early critters.
Let's talk about
we were going to be talking about Christmas today, but then the moose happened, and everything's gone to moose.
That's all. Well, okay, so what did he have to say about early sightings of critters?
He says nothing about moose.
Oh, okay.
Nothing about moose. The moose are a new deal.
Okay.
They're new. They're contemporary.
Okay.
Not historic. There were a lot of buffalo around here. Because we were in the prairie region. But the buffalo met their demise, their total demise, about the same time as the settlers were starting here. There's a story that R.A. Smith wrote, and like I said, he's first-hand account because he was part of this hunting party that he's talking about. The party consisted of J.S. Prescott, who we hear a lot about in the earliest days.
Right.
He came here right after the massacre and ended up living in the Gardner cabin. And his desire for the area was to build an institute of higher education here. Never quite got that done, but he did lots of things. Anyway, he was in this hunting party along with a few other guys and R.A. Smith. They were heading towards Sioux City, and they were down on the Little Sioux in the southwest corner of Okoboji Township, and they looked across the bend, and they saw 2 cattle. Only they were really big cattle.
Big furry cattle?
Big furry cattle, and it turns out that they were buffalo. And he goes on and he tells the story of tracking these buffalo and finally getting them.
Right.
You know, I guess I don't understand why folks need to not just look at the animal, but to kill it.
Right.
Especially when there are very few, like these buffalo at this time.
Sure.
But they did. And I assume that they used the meat.
For meat,
Yeah. There were other sightings of buffalo around this time. Again, it was rare at this time. This one I think is interesting. One was seen one Sunday morning on the bluffs near where the Okoboji mill was afterward built. And I am clueless as to where that was.
Yeah,
I know there was a mill where the spillway is between Big Spirit and East Okoboji. That was the earliest mill around, and I know there were mills down in Milford, but I don't know where the Okoboji mill was. Going to have to figure that one out. And then in the summer of 1872, buffalo were seen near the forks of the Little Sioux. Seems like a lot of our wildlife sightings are around the Little Sioux River.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, it does.
It makes perfect sense.
Now, is there not, in the Maritime Museum, did they not find a bunch of buffalo bones somewhere?
Yeah, and I don't know a whole lot about this story, but they were found under the lake.
Yeah.
On the bottom of the lake, and I don't know where they were found. Do you know?
Don't.
But it was like it was a spot where they would, jump off the shore and drown in this particular spot. It might have been for hunting, or Native American hunting.
Yeah, who knows?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to know more about it.
Yeah.
I really would. There's another critter that we had around here that you might not expect.
Okay.
Another big one.
Feline type, or?
Well, we had those.
Okay,
We're going to talk about those in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, you're jumping the gun here, Jeff.
So to speak.
Oh, gosh.
In the water, on the land?
Both. They like to go for occasional swims.
Oh, okay.
And I happened to be up close and personal with one of these critters. Well, actually, quite a few of these critters. 2 weeks ago when I was in Idaho.
Why don't you just tell me?
Okay. Elk. We had elk.
Elk, yes, that's right. You had elk for Thanksgiving, didn't you?
No, we had megabird for Thanksgiving, but we had elk for most of the other meals while we were there because my son shot an elk from his front porch the day before we got there.
Okay.
Yes.
And how tasty is elk, just out of care? Prefer a steak?
I ate it, but I'm one of these people, I grew up in town, my dad wasn't a hunter, and I don't like to eat things I've known personally.
Yeah.
But I did eat the elk, and it was fine.
Okay.
It was fine.
Gamey?
I don't think so.
Okay.
There's no, I didn't realize this, there's no fat on an elk.
Oh.
Did you know that?
I did not know that, but that's where a lot of the flavor from beef comes from.
What my son did, I mean, he butchered this himself, and one night he was making the ground elk, like ground hamburger. He had to add in, get this, lamb fat to make the elk hamburger better.
Oh my.
So he had saved the fat from when he'd butchered lambs.
He's like Grizzly Adams, your son.
He really is.
Yeah.
He really is. He did try to serve me a lamb heart, and I refused that.
This is where you drew the line.
I drew the line. I'll do almost anything for my kids, but that's beyond it.
Well, let's get back to the elk. Okoboji elk.
We have digressed. The prairies of northwestern Iowa were peculiar. I can't even talk. Were very suited to elk, just like those, like out in the Dakotas, was the best place for buffalo.
Right.
In the early days, it was a rare thing to cross any of the large prairies without encountering a drove of elk, and sometimes several of them.
Huh.
And I assume a drove is a herd of elk.
Sure.
Of course, they kept growing scarcer or more rare until the date of their final extermination, which is fixed in 1871. And of course, R.A. Smith has a long and lengthy and detailed article about the demise of the last elk.
Okay.
Something else I learned from reading R.A. Smith: deer were rare here back in the early days. Deer preferred to be in woodlands, and this was prairie area. So there weren't many deer.
So they migrated here as the grassland went away and we became more wooded.
That's my hunch. Yeah.
Well, I know there's plenty out on the county roads right now anyway.
Oh yeah. Foxes, coyotes, and prairie wolves were numerous up to about 1870 or 75. Prairie chickens were super numerous until hunters totally wiped them out.
Okay.
Prairie chickens were a big deal. Another animal that was encountered around here, and not that rare, was the lynx or bobcat.
Oh yes.
Bobcats were here. So
that's amazing. When you think of the transformation of the Iowa Great Lakes from grassland and lakes to more urban.
Yeah.
How things changed.
Yeah. But the one thing I noticed in reading this chapter was that there were no moose. We are really lucky to have a moose around here.
We got moose now.
We've got moose
We don't know how many mooses, but we got moose.
We've got moose, but R.A. Smith, and back in the earliest days of life here, there were not moose here.
Yeah.
Unless he just didn't see them, but he would have written about them.
Yeah, as we have found, they're tough to miss when they're when they're around.
Yeah.
Well, fascinating.
Yeah. What a fun day it is.
Who would have thought that the wildlife would bring us transform right into a history show?
I know. Who would have thought?
And
but you never know what you're going to find around here.
Oh, that's right. And that's the fun,
And
right?
we can find historical stories about everything here, because that's what we're about. We're about the stories.
Just keep digging.
Yeah.
All right.
It's very cool.
Well, wonderful, my friend. I appreciate. Look, first of all, let me know there's a second moose sighting around here. I've got my head in the sand or something.
You kind of do, Jeff.
But thank you so much as always.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Way back Wednesdays and
every Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
It is so fun. It is so fun.
Kind of like us, all of a sudden you're talking about moose.
That's right.
You never know.
Yeah. No, and then I wanted to highlight also on December 30th, a Saturday, at 10 o'clock, we are having a family Christmas celebration. Now, it seems weird to have Christmas after the holidays, but not really when you think about it. We'll be doing this out in the depot.
Okay.
And I hear that there's going to be a special visitor coming.
Oh.
Who might be kind of tired from his extensive journeys of the week before.
Okay.
But he'll be sharing some of the things that he saw in his journeys, and we'll have some activities for the kids and some activities in the museum itself, too.
It'll probably be full of cookies and milk, so maybe serve something else. And so
Celery.
That's a North Pole favorite, I'm sure,
Yes.
for the deer.
Okoboji
anyway,
broadcast
all right,
from
my
the
friend,
studios
once
at
again,
historic
thank you.
Arnold's Park
Thanks so
Amusement
much,
Park
Jeff.
is
This was
brought
great
to you
fun.
in
And
part
we'll
by
find that
the
moose.
Scott
I'm going
Troutman
moose
State
hunting,
Farm
not literally,
Agency
yeah,
and
because
Spirit Lake,
moose
Quest
looking
Wealth
is what I'm gonna be
Management, a
doing, and I'm
financial
sure you guys
advisory
will too.
practice of
We wanna
Ameriprise
thank you for
Financial
watching us
Services,
right here at the
advisor
County
Jan
Museum right here
Spielman,
on-
AJ Spielman,
on
and
Okoboji
Erica
broadcast.
Wachholz. The headquarters of the University of Okoboji is at the Three Sons, open Monday through Saturday 10 to 5 and Sunday from 10 to 4. Bank Midwest, dream big, plan wisely, live well. Lakes Regional Healthcare and Avera partner. Ruthven Locker at the lake, where carnivores are welcome on Hill Avenue in Spirit Lake. Beck Engineering in Spirit Lake. Be Radiant Laser Skin Studio in the Okoboji Plaza in Okoboji.